What are they about? She's a salesman.
Yes, she is. Just my phone.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could you please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States, to the republic, one nation, indivisible, with liberty.
Good evening, everyone. This is a work session for the board, so there will not be a public comment period. First up on the agenda is a presentation by Matt Hollenbeck regarding our Triennial Projects that are proposed for the village of Medina. There have been a few handouts given. I didn't make it up for everyone. I was trying to save paper. At the last meeting, we had like 5 people here. So now we have a room full of people, and I'm asking people to share handouts so that you have a visual of what Matt is discussing.
Approach the desk.
Yes, come on up. And actually, I'm going to give you a microphone.
No computer in the stack.
Someone can have mine if they want. Is there anybody who really wants to visualize that? And then Matt already.
Do you need one?
Okay.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, we have a website. You can ask us directly that way too.
So can you speak into the microphone if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The board is meeting. I am Matt Hollenbeck, the producer for the Triennial.
This is Connie Hanson, co-artistic director of the Medina Triennial. We see you all. Thank you for this presentation opportunity.
Yes, thank you for the board for your time this evening, and we're here to present 4 artist ideas that we would like to place on the public grounds. And we request the permission of the board to consider it and to offer feedback at a later point or tonight. We'll respect the board's time and the community's time to kind of move through this with some alacrity and intention. The first artist that we want to talk about is Unlucky Jordan, and the piece is called "They Traveled 66 Million Years to Be With You," and then Became. We call it Barnacle. It's easier to remember. It basically is a concrete poured barnacle shape, like a natural source of barnacle, that's poured in a mold after the artist's creation of it, like foam and some idea about how the size would be, and then it's placed on top of some slate rocks. We are hoping to place this someplace in the State Street Park that is not nuisance to the traffic of people who are using the park, and anyone that wants to have a party or something to eat in the way. But we think it'd be kind of like a cool natural upgrade for this. I'm going to talk about the physical stuff, wearing stuff. Any questions about that? I'll allow Karen to talk about the representation, what it is to artists at the White Beach community. Okay.
Just as a brief introduction to the artist, and Duke is a Korean born Germany artist. We're really excited to have her as one of the artists in the Triennial. And this is a work that was created for a Triennial in UK last year. And she has agreed to show this work at the Medina Triennial. And I'll let Matt talk to about the specifics.
Yeah, so we're trying to get this piece recreated here in the community. There's a couple of casters in Buffalo specifically that I look that way. And it is where you take the 3D and have it created in a digital form, like print it, or kind of a home mold cast and then board. And then that would be transported down for sourcing the stone to the area and then placed someplace with the permission in the park. Richard was nice enough to show us a possible spot for it. Thank you for that. But we're opened up to build the area it goes and make the duration of time. We're opening our exhibition on June 7th, for us here in September 7th. We're hoping that town likes it, something that could be a little bit longer. It's quite heavy and I don't think it's move on to the next artist. Is James Beckett. He is a South African artist based in the Netherlands. Moved there from New York, but he is really interested in the Gulf Street Park. It changed over time, but like where he's at now, you feel that he's a really interesting set of structural kind of like posts that resemble the posts that farmers have made on their land, and they kind of dig up all the rock, the shale, and stone's kind of come out. I'm from down here this up too, so we have shale and that's not unfortunately shale's in the backyard. The idea is that these structures are placed in about 6 or 7 spots in a kind of column form. You can see in the diagram right now that stone is, we are hoping to source it from materials that were sourced here locally in Medina. They look like they're in place, like you see the but they're actually very intentional how he does it. Each piece will be basically taken from like a what it says, the deconstructed building that has sandstone kind of laying around, and then taken with the architecture from the University of Buffalo architecture students are going to capture it in like a 3-dimensional LiDAR program, and then use the computer program to figure out how they all interconnect. So we'll have like vision way of putting it together, and they're not just like haphazard placed; they're like structurally put into place. So we have a stainless steel rebar rod drilled through each piece so that it stays in form and it isn't allowed to be moving around. He recognizes that the golf park is like a place where people do a lot of sporting activities, and walking, golf, baseball, football, just enjoying it. And it might be like a dangerous thing, obviously, to see if the stone was going up. These things are actually very like placed together. We asked the question to him, the mayor asked an initial conversation about my kids walking now. He's like, I don't care. It's interesting. It's part of the park. We want them to enjoy it and engage with it. Suggesting that they jump off the top of it, obviously, but something that has a lot of cool meaning here during the
I would only maybe add one thing to Matt's presentation, that the major support for this public sculpture is coming from Dutch government, the Montreal Foundation. So we welcome for you to see this as a gift from the Dutch government. And James, the artist, is also open to keeping the sculpture longer in Medina after the Triennial closes, if everyone agrees.
Yeah, so there were some concerns about the nature of Gulf Street Park. Aquifer underneath it, it'd be kind of swampy land, like you can see from the map. There was a river there one time. It was a catch basin. James has worked with a lot of different environments and like swampland grass mitigation, like creating it in a place that would be difficult to put heavier things in. He's already has a plan that was working on this. Kind of fell in love with the area, being like this basin and the beach. The next artist we're going to work with presents is Richard Digby and Mary Lemons. Thing called Community Tool Shed for the Birds. Basically, a tool shed that has tools inside of it that birds may use if birds would use tools. Only birds need nests and have very interesting ways to do things in our world and their world. But this is a structure that's about 7 feet tall, 4.5 feet wide, by 3 feet deep. In its recreated or created form originally, it had an open front that would be in the gallery museum. We're going to be reproducing this here in Medina, and we'll be putting a plexiglass frame over it so that the traffic nuisance problem of people coming in and taking out a bird hammer or the display tool to be used or to place something inside of it to kind of protect. At the end of each day, our plan is to cover the front of it up so that there's no traffic nuisance problems. It'll look like a orange shed. Our main area that we love to present to this is at Ridgeway Park. Which was a really interesting spaces to fit in. It's not like a main piece, but there's like a places that you can kind of live that would kind of like people replace it. You're going to talk about any kind of connection to the community that may have this or maybe some of their philosophies.
Maybe I would only add a few things. So Richard and Marilyn, they're based in Quebec. They're Canadian artists from home. We find this work very, this work has a sense of humor that we find very endearing, and we feel like it deserves to be a central spot in the village. I understand there may be some concerns about people wanting to take things or from the tool shed, but we will produce this particular one for the triennial, and we will have replacement items as well. And the artists are okay if something happens to the tool shed once the triennial is open.
And the last artist we have to present to the board to me tonight is Neil Laflette. He's an international artist that has had success melding performance art with installation site specific things. In this piece, we do not have a site yet for it. There was a few places that really but they weren't panning out. So we asked the board if anyone has an idea. Welcome any kind of suggestions that you have. Essentially, the idea is that Lena melds performance and creation. What does that mean? Basically, the idea is to have a team of performers that will be having daily, twice a day shows during the exhibition schedule, and they will come in and sing a song, the Low Bridge song, while they create this path. And this path will be created out of some kind of stone block interlocking system. And as they're singing it throughout the exhibition, they are building this walkway. And the idea is this walkway will be interacting with the public and it's hear the song while they're creating the path, connecting it thus to the canal in the area. Anything about that?
Maybe I'll just add a few things to Lena. She is originally from Lithuania and perhaps one of the most internationally recognized artists in this group of work here. She usually works with communities, volunteers, and very often with music from pop music. And the idea of this work is reversing the roles. In other words, the singers will be building and the builders will be singing. And that is one duration of work that will happen throughout the 3 months that the triennial is open. Triennial is open from Thursday to Sunday. We envision this performance to take place for 1 hour. every day the trail is open. And it's a pathway with the messaging on it. And Dina is really inspired by the Low Bridge song. So there's going to be some kind of rendition of that work, of that song used in that sculpture. And this is another piece that the artist is open and willing to keep in Medina longer than the triennial, if that would be idea that works for everybody. And we don't have a site plan yet, so we're really open to suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. So while we present these things, we have it's not a planning session. We were hoping to bring it to you today with the idea that it's discussed and on the 26th, a vote motion if these are some things that are allowed in your community. Then we could get to start working on. No one has any questions about this immediately or want to make comment or whatever we
I did have a few questions. Would we be voting on all of these at once, or is this, I mean, could we choose some and not others, or?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, we're not ready to present a vote for, that's like, something if we didn't know that, we wouldn't want to include, the other key piece. That's a simple one, we can say, I think we wouldn't have this right now. Consider those, if possible.
And then as far as the duration of the exhibits, that would be something that we would decide at the time we approved it.
I think so. I think that we were hoping that some of these would be more permanent, and it was something that the community enjoyed. Like, we're hoping to bring something that is enjoyable, not like eyesore or something that kind of like detracts from these parks.
Right. So the one that I think is the most has the most questions is the one slated to call Street Park. And I had read the original that you gave us, because you did mention about that area being so that there was some concern about structure with this type there where the ground is wet.
Yeah.
And I did read you know, the plans for water mitigation and that. So I think for me personally, that might be one of my concerns. I don't know exactly the lay of our whole area, and there might be some areas there that are high and dry. Maybe I'm not really sure, you know, where exactly placed over there. I don't know if you.
I think that's still in development. I think that Jake said something that he works on projects that are as big as big skyscrapers, as well as these flowers that are coming out of the sidewalk. I can't use it best, but he really makes sure to cite valuations of each place and floating on water. That's one thing. He doesn't want to have built for permanence. He's really passionate about something standing the test of time almost like on board. So whatever work he does, he wants to do a full set of evaluation down to we talked about like it's non-invasive that you can see what is actually there. He's done a lot of geological surveys of land that are available to him without actually being on the ground, but checking out like the state and like federal surveys of the land to see what is actually there. And then creating like some plans of how to create that footprint that goes down to a certain depth. And that will allow it to hold the weight and also hold the weight over time.
Has he done this before? Is this?
It's basically doing mostly public work.
Right, and regarding standing the test of time, because I think a structure like this, that would be something you really want to make sure that it would stand the test of time.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
Some of his works are like 150 feet high that are like, you, like function and safety is like the most important thing. Again, for everything we have insurance that covers all the colors and stuff, but like we also don't want to create something that's endangered public. That's like the last thing for us.
so we would be providing insurance to cover all these, or would we? I'm not
During
sure how that would work.
Yes, we would ensure that the works, I mean, obviously, if something would happen, like a truck runs into a rotary park, and I think that would be a different kind of insurance, I imagine, but, for the works themselves, I think our operations manager is working on that insurance coverage.
And you're here for 3 years, triennial, so you're here for
3 months.
Oh, 3 months, but, so we had it beyond that, and then something happened, you know, I mean, 5 years down the road, I guess.
Right, I think that would be like case by case then. Or once we move forward on the potential sites, like then the next question is like, is this for the duration of the triennial? Are we demolishing the work or removing the work in September, October 2026? Or is there an interest from your side to keep the work longer? And then that will come with next discussions about insurance, and how to maintain the structure and benefits, and pluses and minuses, yeah.
I understand. The only other question I guess I had was, will these be, is there gonna be any like, informational, like describing?
Absolutely, every public work will have some niche. So yes, for sure. Name, yes, I mean, but the signage for each public work, absolutely. Name of the artist, name of the work, what material, text about what it is.
Yeah, Corinne, I'm sorry, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you mentioned this. So James is currently, he's going to be teaching a class at UB with our students for the spring semester. And he is going to be working with our students on this project
Yes,
and developing it. So he has more of a sense of urgency with finding a place for his project because his class is going to be starting pretty soon. And he's very excited. Scott met with him one day and actually took him around. Okay, right? and got a feel for what he's looking for. So he's, you know, I think every piece of artwork is meant to be a teaching tool, and it's getting people involved with art in the village. So there will be signage and information about every piece that every artist correct.
absolutely. That's on the Triennial, that's our responsibility, yes. I think what's unique about James is, yes, collaboration with UB, but also like how this will be essentially a new way how to combine stone in the way that creates least amount of waste. So this goes way beyond what art can do. And his collaboration with UB is very important. And I agree with you, Mayor Sherman, that this would like maybe the urgency to find the sign would be maybe first, it would be important, yes.
Before we voted on this, we were talking about when every 2 weeks, is there a way that we possibly could, you know, maybe get some cones over there and put them where it's the area that we're looking to put the particular structures, just so the community could see where it would be, and then if there was any concerns about it. You know, maybe a playground where somebody plays ball or football, you know, maybe if we get, you know, a little closer, you know, proximity of location where we're going to put all of these, you know, maybe these communities that, you know, have concerns about it. Is there any way we could get with him? I know he's not everyone's down.
Depending on the day that we get he has quite a bit, he has. I see no reason why we couldn't do it. I will get with him tomorrow, and also this tonight, see what we do about that, like we're thinking like a barrel
Homes
home.
are, you know, years older, and I know that areas looked at the soil, there a lot of research into it. But yeah, that way, you know, if we had something visual out here that people could maybe see, or just.
Absolutely, yeah, I can't promise you what it will look like. I'm not sure that he can get it, and but I'm sure I can work with a aerial view and like see where he wants them, and I can I'll have some stuff. Yeah.
Is there, is the village the only parks that you're looking at, or the towns too?
We are looking at everything that is, the idea of the Medina Triennial is that we're having like a 15-minute walking space. We don't want to have it be on either side of the car, because there's so many different places we want to get to. We want to make sure you can get to it and get to it so that you don't have to go too far. We've looked at private lands and public lands. And by public, I would say there's a distinction between what a park or the Rotary Park or the playground or the Gulf Street Park is. Like if it's not privately owned, that's I'm assuming is what we're here about. Like, there's a difference between a park or for state things we have looked at some state stuff, canal property, but it's not what James is kind of asked for. Some things we found by the state.
Did you get together with Scott, DPW superintendent for the structure here in Gulf Street? It looks to me that's going to mow around, a lot of weed whacking.
That we have not done. No. Well, we whacking.
By looking at the picture that everybody can see that. Looks like it's a lot of extra maintenance here. Stones kind of scattered on the ground.
Yes,
That being wet, that part of that grass grows too fast. I mean, they haven't heard enough time in the summertime to get wet summer mowing. Obviously, there's tiles in that, in the ground there, to drain water and all of that part. That's where a lot of concern, I've been getting from, residents around there. It's been like a constant flow on my phone, and, I would have liked to have had this on a board meeting. Public could, give comments and ask their questions and concerns. The workshop is not for that, so.
So that is the plan, though. We're presenting to the board tonight with the information. That's why no decision is going to be made tonight, because there will be public comment period on the 26th.
I would like to get a talk with Jason, our parks guy, and show him that, see what his concerns are.
and I'm going to take your concern and talk to James about it. I think that's a very valid point. We whack myself, moving around stuff. I don't know the level of detail it is going to be for a final project. So the stones are in the ground. Those it's a great point that you bring up. And any other points that bring up by the board of the public, we'll hear them, but like I can talk to him about that, see specifically what his plan is for that. He may have like a part that is like a landscape fabric off, kind of like a piece down. I don't know what the ultimate look will be for that. I think it's kind of being created as we talk here today, but I appreciate it.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything? I guess that, I would like a general feel from the board. They have come to us with potential ideas for placement of these art projects. These art projects will go in Medina somewhere. It has to be within the walking, as they said. They want people to be able to walk to each project. That's part of it. So we're obviously looking at their proposed site, but we're also looking for alternative sites. So if any members of the public have ideas as to where these projects could go, we certainly welcome input from the public too, if, you know, on the proposed sites and potential other sites for these projects. But we do have to find a place for these projects, and we want to welcome our artists into the village as part of this art triennial that is going on. And so my other question was, when we spoke the other day in my office, we were talking about the bird house, the tool shed for the birds. So you're looking back at, we're speaking with the artists now, you're looking back at Rotary Park as being your primary placement of this rather than going to the entranceway to City Hall up on the second floor, correct?
The Rotary Park would be the first choice, if possible, for us and for the artist, and they actually make this work outdoor proof for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. Did you find out if it was going to need to be lit
Seem to be
up, lights?
no, there's no lights. The only thing maybe what we didn't mention is we open it and then in the morning we close it in the evening. The little islands there during the opening hours of the Triennial, but otherwise it's closed. Matt, you wanted to add something?
In this original configuration, LED panel on top to kind of illuminate it. If you think about it, like in a museum space, there's often not a lot of light. It's cast upon it, but casting your spotlight through the top of the shed. It's going to make shadow for the whole thing. In a public park in the middle of the day, with light bouncing off buildings and the grass and everywhere else, we don't think we need the light. So thus we don't need to have electricity for it.
Thank you.
That was a fairly small footprint, right, Matt? You said it was 7 foot high, 4 foot wide, 3 foot deep.
Yes. And that's like a rough estimate. When we're recreating it, so we're going to build that like what it should be.
And just so the board knows, we did discuss Butts Park for some of these projects with Matt, and that was a bit too far away. It wasn't within the idea they had for walking distance to get to the projects. Okay,
I'm not allowed to ask any questions right now. with this.
correct. But you can ask them on your own,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Great, thanks, Ron. Does the board have anything else they would like to add about this project to each other or to Matt? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, committee, for your time.
I did have one last question. For the walking path, what was the footprint we were having? You know, we're gonna work on it, so I'm assuming that during the hours that we were open.
Brent, for which one?
The last, for Woolbridge.
Yes. Brent.
Was it gonna be like a paper, like a paved sidewalk?
Yeah. And I think that the length would be kind of site dependent. If you decided we run.
Yes, right now the sketch you see in the proposal is the most accurate, latest version we have. But the artist, the architect that she's working with, they can create size that's appropriate for the site. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Jess has asked that, we discuss the open meetings law and the duration of information that's listed on the Medina website.
Yeah, so I've gotten a couple questions about how long to keep an item up now that, like, so if we're going to discuss something prior to a meeting, if there's a document to discuss, upload it, the village uploads it, sure, like that. There is nothing in open meetings law that indicates it has to remain there long after the meeting, but because some people don't make it to the meeting, they have to look after the fact, it's pretty helpful to have that information present. So knowing how long to keep it up there, what's appropriate, how to evaluate that. I tossed out some ideas with some folks. The best that we've come up with so far is copying municipalities who, when they put their minutes up, copy the items that were discussed in that scanned minutes, so that those items would end up getting, they would be memorialized with the minutes. So if somebody wanted to know what was discussed, it would be scanned in. So like, let's say, had they presented those today, we had enough of them to, we did have some people, right? So when the minutes get uploaded, and the clerk's office puts them up there, when they scan the minutes, and they would also scan in any applicable documents that were discussed. So that way, everything is online and available for folks who want to see it, but it's not taking up one additional hosting space. And we have that agenda section, and then there are some folks who, after they put a proposal in, they had concerns about, like, somebody Googles my name now, it comes up with that proposal months after that proposal is no longer valid. I don't know what's kicking around on there. We can't not continue to provide that information, but we don't have to have it listed in the same way. It could be bundled in with part of our minutes. But as the information, we're not redacting anything after the fact. We're just placing it someplace that's more cohesive when people are looking things up and less likely to get the clerk's office many phone calls about when. Anybody have a different idea or a better plan? I want to think about it some more.
So if we're putting them with the minutes, there's still public knowledge, like if there was a proposal, a contract, it's still there, but it would still show up on Google search, wouldn't it?
I mean,
Concerned about that?
not in the same way, right? Because right now, like, let's say, Gus Marciano, proposal for something, and you want to list the 3 proposals on the agenda, the post office might put Gus Marciano's proposal, and then, Scott Polinsky's proposal, Mark Powell's proposal. And then when you go search my business, and you search my name, that proposal is going to pop up. It's made some of the people who have sent us proposals in the past a little frustrated when it's months down the line, and that H-out proposal, which is not even valid for us, like, is popping up people searches and giving results to folks. Hardly the primary concern, but if it's something that could help alleviate some calls to the
Matt, do you have any input on this as far as what municipalities do? Advice?
I haven't researched, I know the requirements are typically prior to a meeting and try to address it. And there isn't a lot of guidance for thereafter. I haven't done any research in this particular area, so I can't say anything more than Jess has said. And whether we keep it, on the, I believe we should probably keep with the, and I believe we would be kept in some meeting, the agenda of the, these are the materials we looked at. So if someone wanted to, they might not see it in the form on our website or something, but they could, go back and see what was talked about it. Other than what we've heard, and it's really kind of a new requirement to put it on the website, so there hasn't been a lot of challenges, a lot of stuff when they get.
Does the board have any feeling either way? I like things that are easily accessible myself, and I like that idea of putting. And I think that sometimes it's hard to navigate our website when you're looking specifically for something, but if you know that then I think things would be easier to find personally.
I got something to add. Has anybody had any, kind of similar, but different, recording of, meetings here, any discussions with Shelby? They're set up to have all this video equipment. We're using this space is, like, holes of talking with Shelby and see if we can get set up on that. That's already set up here. Are we close to that, or?
I did speak with Jim about it when he first came on. He's very willing to let us use the equipment. For us to do that, we have to adopt the process to retain the records. So that's our next step, really. We would have to take ownership of the records, but we would have to Shelby to take ownership of those records. Once the record is created by the village, it becomes a quotable record. So we would have to have that retained in a specific group to have access to it. Once we know what they do, which at the time I talked to Jim, he's brand new, so we didn't know yet. But once we know what they do, we kind of find out what the best way is for us to be the owners of our documents. But yeah, they're very willing to let us use the equipment.
I did have a conversation with them also, and we just have not had time to sit down and, formally discuss it.
Well, we discussed that before. I was wondering where we were at. It's something that the rest of the board would be willing to pursue. We're not, it would be a thing to have that.
I agree. I am all for looking into adopting some policies and some procedures. Figuring things out. Scott, how do you feel?
I think we might as well utilize it if it's available.
Jeff or Deb?
Excuse me, Mayor. Excuse me, could you all please be sure you're using your microphones because it does not come out on the video and then you can't, if somebody's watching, they can't hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are these connected to the video?
No, but if they come out in the room, and I've tried to watch the last meeting and you can't hear if you don't use the link.
Okay, so we will pursue that. So, Matt, what would we have to do? Do we have to do anything formally if we're going to put our documents in with the going back to the official agenda items? We're gonna put our documents with our agenda, with our minutes now. Do we have to do anything or just?
I think a lot of the rules for the open meeting and the retention is that you have a system. I mean, other than the system. And I think there's a wide latitude as to the systems because different communities have different facilities, different budgets. But as long as you have a policy and you retain them from out before the meeting, satisfied. I know from when the requirements came in because in small towns to big towns and cities, a lot of businesses have budget issues and they were really cost a lot of money. So they did put initially, as far as a lot of requirements. So as long as you adopt a policy that's workable. Like I said, there's been a lot of challenges. I don't think it's got problems yet that I've heard. But.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else regarding the agenda items? Medina Community Garden location discussion. At the last meeting that Wakefield was here, she requested to use village property for community garden she wanted a more centralized location and for grant funding purposes. She thought that she could probably solidify some grants that were on village property. She originally requested the land next to the village office. And, you know, we suggested looking into maybe village owned land on Church Street or possibly at the municipal parking lot behind parks. And I just want to know if the board has any additional thoughts on this. I did put a copy of a proposed site in the board mailboxes of the board on I took it off of our GIS map on Church Street. The village does own that small piece of property that is right before the railroad, the overpass for the railroad. It looks like a very nice spot. It needs a little TLC, and it will only look better once someone gets their hands on it to make it into a garden.
Yeah, I favor the Church Street section rather than a parking lot. Also, there's a resident in that area. I can't remember if I brought this up last meeting, but there's a resident in that area who previously had asked for a community garden in that space. So I think it would be welcome over there as well. So I like that spot better than the parking lot. Less environmental weirdness, less. Like, I feel like Church Street probably has a little more hope. I'm not opposed to the raised beds. I just think the Church Street's kind of a nicer spot.
The only reason I brought up the raised beds was that a previous board suggested those before Meg brought forth her idea, because the previous board wanted to see something done. These were so popular in communities. I just think we could really start sprucing, you know, that area up, and especially that old railroad trestle. You know, once we have something there, we could start making it useful to the community and attractive.
Seems like a good use for the space if she's agreeable to it.
Jess, did you speak with Meg about the Church Street option?
Yeah, let me see. I don't remember. She did send me a message.
That was mentioned at the last meeting she was here, and she seemed like she was, out for that.
Oh, all she wrote was, "I'm having trouble seeing it work," but I don't.
Okay, so in 2 weeks, we'll be looking for something more formal to present to Meg for the community garden. And
Yeah, I'll follow up with her too about the location.
okay. Thank you. Does the board have any other ideas, suggestions, anything else for that?
My only concern is water. They, in there.
Oh, where did they irrigate on Burnsonic Drive?
Yeah, I think they were able to use water from the homeowner, but they didn't anticipate being able to. They knew that the DPW was not going to be watering. Like that was when the initial rollout happened. They knew the DPW would not be able to assist with watering, and so that could have been part of her concern with the site. I wish I'd been more curious in that moment, but I'll follow up with her and see if.
Good point. Okay, we will move on. Ad valorem for town of Shelby and town of Ridgeway. Interest rate discussion. Before we go any further, some people were confused about what the ad valorem is, and I was going to ask you just to share the knowledge of that.
It's a charge that the Niagara County Water District assesses to Medina. I believe it's on the taxable evaluation. The Village of Medina had a study done, that was 13. And part of that study, was showing, what percentages that the town of Shelby and the town of Ridgeway should contribute to that annual charge.
And then in the contracts that we have with the towns of Shelby and Ridgeway, it does, and some of the contracts it specifically states, the ad valorem charge. It has not been collected since 2013. And we're just trying to collect something that is contractual. So with that being said, Ann, we'd like to discuss this under
Well, yeah, I mean, because, it's clearly indicated in our contract charges, as James said, that, we get our water from the Niagara County Water District, and because people in Niagara County that are serviced by it, in their property taxes and their county taxes, the money that the county tax collects and sales tax and all the revenue, part of, they utilize money from other sources, just water it, pay for the infrastructure, pay for that. We have the warm as a way to people out of the county to pay in towards that infrastructure. And that's why it was built into our agreements that any fees passed on to the village, some of the portion passed on to sell it. So as a result, and as you indicated, it's not getting paid to the contract, and it's in black and white. I think it's an issue of either contractual breach or contractual litigation. That's really something that is sort of a attorney-client privilege. The village determines strategy or what we're going to do with regard to it. So it's more in the realm of something that should be discussed either attorney-client privilege or executive session.
Thank you. Okay, water policy discussion. Jada has done her best to inform the board of a situation, water when someone don't have the ability to shut off the water. So Jada, do you want to speak on this a little bit more?
Let everyone know, I just feel like there's a growing number of accounts that we have not been able to shut off, for various reasons. And I believe, you need to consider you're charging other people, a fee for non-payment. And there's other people that we're not assessing that fee to. So I like that for board discussion.
And there are some bills that have not been paid, and eventually they get put on the tax.
So there's some accounts right now that haven't paid bills since every levy last May. They owe a year worth of water right now. So if I'm not trying to follow this a little bit. So if so the issue is really that if somebody gets the water turned off for non-payment, they have to pay the unpaid bill plus the $75 in order to get it turned back on.
Can you talk into that?
And our ordinance allows for that. But your concern is that people that should be getting turned off and therefore having to pay the $75 should be either turned on are not being turned off because there's no access to the turn off, or a lot of it is having access. So in that regard, that's the unfair part that you're referring to. Correct. I mean, am I understanding what you're? I would say yes, because we're struggling with definitely getting access to be able to shut off. Because the ordinance does say that we can charge for turning the water off. So it's not that we're not charging people for turning the water off, putting it back on. It's not that we're not doing that. It's that there are certain people who are not subject to the turn off, and therefore the $75. And that's the unfair part.
Because we don't have access to turn that far off, where it should be turned off. So, when our auditors were here, that was one thing that they brought up, is that we need to be fair across the board and how we deal with these things. So this is why, this has been on Jada's radar. It has been something that's been hanging over her head, and the village is losing money. It's the only thing we have to hang over people's heads if they're not paying their water bills.
Right, so my thought is that instead of charging them a fee, for the shut off, the fee would have to be based on just plain not paying, whether it gets turned off or not. So maybe it's just a different wording that we need in the ordinance. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there's two ways of looking at it. I mean, as Debbie said, that perhaps reword the ordinance at when you can't turn the water off, that fee still accrue. But we also, and as we develop the law, we also can set fee schedule. So when we change our water fees, we don't need to do a local law, we just have a fee schedule. I guess I would look at our current fee schedule, see if there's just a way to add it to our fee schedule, some sort of fee for, for non-compliant billing or non-payment, and then we can implement it in the same place. We just don't have water. So I'm not sure. Well, looking at that fee schedule, just amend the fee schedule. Maybe there's add that on top of just a regular water rate. That would be easier and quicker. We can always change the local law, but then we have to do a public hearing in the whole.
So we'll take a look at the fee schedule. Does everyone like, that suggestion from Matt? We'll look at the fee schedule, if something can be added in, and Matt probably, be sending something over to you for advice on.
Yeah, I almost feel like, I appreciate the idea of expediency, but I feel like you have to update the local law if you were adding a fee, because when somebody in charge of this fee, they're gonna want to look at what the difference, So I do think it's likely we'll have to be both.
Well, I think, and I don't have the section that says the fee schedule, so there's that section. But without looking at that, how much specificity it has, we could just as well amend the statute and say in cases when we're unable to turn the water on, the fee still applies upon water service to resume and stuff for that.
Yeah, and what Doug said, I think, is perfectly consistent with the advice we got from the controller's office, which is if you're charging a fee to somebody because they didn't pay the water bill, then you need to be charging that same fee to everybody who didn't pay their water bill. And then if you're charging a fee to somebody because they got to the point of shut off, then you should be charging the same fee to everybody who got to the point of shut off, not just people who you can go turn around to. So it sounds like renaming the fee would probably resolve any inconsistency we have. Before we make a resolution on this, I think it would be great if we could get the amount of income the village has received on late fees and on shut-offs for the last year or so, because I think it would help us evaluate the fees themselves and whether or not they're in line with what's necessary. Thank you.
The original intent of the charge though was to actually pay for the cost of the DPW workers to go out and actually turn off. That was the basis for the charge, and I thought that's the way that it's written. So it's just that, like Jake says, more people are not complying or not giving access, and landlords even will not give access, if it's also.
Are we going to account for that water? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and then we probably also want to get a list from Jason, of what houses do not currently have. Like, I know that, if you've got a landlord in 1 or 2 years, they you don't want to shut off the house because one person's not paying, and I understand the complications there. But when it comes to just, there is no shut off that we can find at the curb, I want to list those to start.
Like, where they're at.
Yeah, and how many are.
We have a whole community where we cannot shut off water, right? Like village, we're not allowed to do that. Okay, so we will look into, the current fee schedule, possibly reviewing the fee, and getting some income information from the clerk's office and a list from Jason. Did I miss anything? Okay. Okay, the fire station addition. Our ladder truck is now in Tonawanda. It's made the truck from the company that put it together to the outfitting place that's being outfitted. For some reason, we were all in Churchville, but it's in Tonawanda. And I just want to clarify, at the last board meeting, according to the minutes, it discussed that it's going to cost an additional $200,000 to $300,000 to outfit the truck. We got a clarification from Chief Cooley that there is no additional cost to outfit the truck from there. Initial discussions for a concept plan for the addition were started. The truck was started in December of 2024. We finally received a basic plan from MRB so that we could move forward with funding for the building grants. Through this board's inaction, we do not have an addition for the truck. The window has closed for the current grant period as of December 31st, 2025. So we have to reapply for the same grant for the next quarter. We need, in order to apply for this grant, which could be up to $1 million for an addition, we need a more accurate cost estimate, as I stated at the last meeting. I am once again encouraging the board to move forward to approve spending $4,800 at accurate figures for an addition that will be broken down by division to see where the costs are coming from. I spoke with the engineering firm today. Because it's been so long, we really need to hone in on accurate figures for the cost of the building, without having to be under the confines of the CDBG by American Build American. But we also need the cost with that in order to move forward with our bond council to solidify funding and hopefully a grant. But the next quarter grant will probably reopen at the end of February. So there are steps we have to take. And I'm pleading with the board, please, let's hone in on a cost so that we know what we're looking at for an addition to this
strategy. At the last board meeting, I threw out an option to put a for sale sign on the fire truck. This is my last ditch effort to appease our taxpayers. We have for the last 2 years pleaded with me that they do not want this fire truck. They don't want this fire truck. It was, the whole process was, entered into, without enough forethought as to how it was going to be paid for. And, I mean, I could just sit here and repeat everything. I've repeated at every single meeting for the last 2 years, but I don't think it's really necessary. The taxpayers have spoken loud and clear to me that they are not interested in buying this fire truck. The truck's too big. We did not budget for it. We do not have a place to put it, and we can't afford to build a place to put it. So I am, and the fact that the truck is now here, or practically here, and we have nowhere to put it, I would like to propose, and I will make a motion that this board, or the mayor, explore the option of selling the ladder truck prior to being put into service. And that's why I bring it up today, because the truck is gonna be ready to be placed into service. And if in fact you end up selling it, I'm pretty sure we could get maybe closer to what we're paying for it before we actually placed into service. I have reviewed the USDA paperwork. It does appear that, that we may be able to pay off the loan early. But I think that, I would like to work with, discuss it with council. We would, I would like to talk to a broker, who sells fire trucks. I mean, I don't know where it's going to end up. But this is, like I said, a vestige effort to get out from under this, debt. I guess is the word I want. So I will repeat that I am making a motion that we explore the option of selling the ladder truck prior to the placement of service.
I'll second that.
Now we're open for discussion. I would like to say that our Chief Cooley is currently working on investigating ISO ratings for our village, for our residents, for our businesses, and for our hospital. If we do not have a ladder truck in the village, he is investigating what would happen with our ISO rate changes to our taxpayers and how much that will affect our own insurance. So before we go off looking at selling this ladder truck, there is so much more to this. And I do want to say, Trustee Paneleski, just as you have had discussions with many people about not wanting the truck, I probably had just as many, if not more, discussions with people who think this truck is very important to this community for their safety, and they want it. They want our fire department, they want our police department, and our ambulance service.
I think that the discussion of the ISO rating is certainly one thing that we would want to consider, and that's why I'm not offering a motion to sell it. I'm offering a motion to explore it. We need to look into different things, and certainly the ISO rating is one of those things. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion going around about the ISO rating and whether it's relevant or not. So, I do think that's something we need to look into for sure.
There was an ISO, some information that was given to the village in 2020. I have a copy on my desk. I'm waiting for the chief to present it to the board when he's ready, because he has to do a little bit more investigation, because it lists everything that we're rated for the ISO. Matt, I don't believe we need a motion to investigate anything because we're not changing anything. Am I correct?
No, I mean, sorry. from what I understood, a motion to investigate, I mean, that is sort of an informal action that, I don't know who would take the lead up on that. So I don't, when I first to investigate, I don't know if you need a motion. I don't think you do. We're not taking, that's not a formal action. It's not to sell it. So, I don't necessarily think it's needed. I mean, and you can pass a resolution about anything, but is it needed? I don't think so.
I think we have one on the table now, and I think at this point, like you said, and I think we probably want to be specific about what the next steps are, because I just don't want any wires to get crossed, where some people think or means one thing and some people think it's another thing. And I just think it would be good if we knew who is making what contact with whom, if any, right now. I don't know if they're a separate motion or if it's in conjunction with what's already, what was already said, but I don't want one person to make a phone call and then another person to think we made that phone call and I just think we could get a little more specific, it might maybe alleviate some of that back and forth later.
I withdraw my motion tonight. I make another motion that, the ladder truck is not placed into service until, I don't know, until the, let's see, what's the word I'm on? Until the option to sell it have been explored.
So,
Yeah, until an additional resolution. Because what you think is explored, you know what I mean? Like I said, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Maybe amend that to until the board, until it's an additional board resolution authorizing the aid to go into service.
Sure. I'm okay with that.
so I just want to clarify a little bit here. So we are going to get this truck delivered, and we are going to let the truck sit. It could be used, something that our employees need to be trained on, first of all. And then, so when your house catches on fire, our board made a resolution that we are not using this truck, and it's not to be used.
You better retract it.
Well, no, I'm not, I'm just giving an example. So I don't want my house to be on fire and a truck to be sitting there. I shouldn't even have said yours. Because I'm just trying to maybe mean something to you. My house catches on fire. I want a truck to respond, and I don't want a board to make a
Saying
decision
that
to
if my
say,
house catches on fire, no one's gonna respond.
no, I'm not. I'm saying, no, that is not what I
That
said.
ain't coming to mind either.
I said, okay, let me get that. Let me cross off what I said and didn't come across the right way. If we have a truck that a board decides is going to sit there and not be put in use, if there is a fire in our village and they can't take that truck to that fire, we have a problem. I have a problem.
I'll tell you what, I've tried for 2 years.
We know.
To not get to this point. And we're at this point. So yeah, that's what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like. Does it suck? It absolutely sucks. But I'm trying to talk for 2 years about this. And this is where we're at. And that's the way it is. That's my last ditch effort. This doesn't apply, then I can say the taxpayers who voted me in that I did absolutely everything I could to not take on the debt of this truck or a building to put it in. That's what I was elected to do right here. That's what I am doing. That's absolutely what I am doing. I'm doing what the taxpayers have asked me to do. This is not about me personally. No, it's not about you and me. It's not about any of that. It's about what the taxpayers have asked me to do that they elected me for this position. That has been my position since day one. Since day one. And you have particularly have taught me on every bit of it. And in the first year, I told you that I tried to make this easy on you. I tried to get you out from under this. And you didn't like any of my ideas. You didn't like any of them. You squashed them off. And so here we are. Yes, there's a $1.7 million land sitting and not being used, if in fact the board votes to do what I just asked them to do. And if they don't, then that's fine. I have done my job. I've done my job.
And once again, I want to just be correct, I did not mean anything about your house, I was talking in general. So everyone understands, I'm not saying that someone is not going to respond, but I would like the truck sitting there to respond to any fire. I would like the truck to be able to respond. But it has also been, my charge through the people who elected me to move forward, to try to come up with a feasible way to get a truck and an addition. And I have been working tirelessly, connecting with people, trying to solidify funds, grant monies, and I am doing everything that I can to try to make this affordable for this village, because I think it's very important for our village.
I'd like to comment on it as well. I'd like to comment on that as well. I haven't seen a needs assessment, we want to go to bond council, spend $4,500, see exactly what we need. To me, it looks like we're, the building, like even looking at the 1.4 million, where we're at. I don't know, and the needs assessment for the truck. I don't know if what Debbie's saying is 100% right, but I'd like to explore some other options. Like she said, maybe there is a company that sells, or something that maybe we can afford. Do we need a truck? Yeah, absolutely we do. Do we have one 1.2 miles away? We also have that. Our fire protection, we're going to pay more in additional just for this fire. They pay for fire protection, town of Ridgeway in total. So I don't know. I was looking at bills as they were coming in, and I'm looking at our budget now. Do I think we owe it to ourselves to explore other options? Absolutely. Do I say that we're going to sell the truck? Yeah, maybe the ISO rating comes back and it's ridiculous. But I don't know. There's people that live 1.2 miles away from the fire station, and their ISO rating isn't more than somebody that lives right next door. So I don't know how that would work out for us, but there is no needs assessment. I haven't seen needs assessment. I haven't seen what we're proposing for the garage. I just can't wrap my head around $1,000. We just don't have it. We don't have it. I mean, I see everything else going up where we're at. So, I mean, I think that, we have to do our due diligence. We have to look at where we're spending our money. What our best take on this is. Maybe somebody would buy it has a 75 foot education. Get out of the debt for $100,000, not have a $1.4 million building. $100,000 out of a truck that would be useful for us that we could actually house. I don't know. And, we weren't talking about not having, it's not about not having. Not talking about the fire department. They're still all there. It's just one piece of equipment. It isn't going to cost us 1.8. It's going to cost us 3.1. I mean, interest costs money, bonds cost money, and everything else. So, in every day that we pay on that, we can get out $1 million worth of interest on it. If there was, a viable solution for selling it, get more. Maybe someone and they got to sell it. I don't know, but the needs assessment is, to me, comes first, not where they're figuring it out. I urge the board to urge the board as well to make a decision. My decision held a gun get a $1.4 million bill. I've said that. So I don't know. Maybe we should, open up the avenue to explore a couple different options. I don't know second in it, but I would agree to explore a couple different avenues. Not to put any
Jeff,
That's kind of a broad question. Are you asking me if I want
no, I'm just asking what your thoughts are. Once again, we're kind of rehashing the old, conversation. Have your thoughts changed at all regarding this water truck position?
I just add something, and I try to be in the middle of the road, but just look at it like a lawyer for liability. Just one way to fill out nowadays. And, I understand everyone wants to look at different options. That's fair enough. One concern is, and this is, I think, something that a bigger question may answer tonight, but getting it service. My concern liability, if there is a need, if something were to happen, if we have a big fire, and we have equipment available. I'm going through permutations, and I've had many cases where the village has been sued or been threatened to sue. And there's lawsuits for doing something you shouldn't do, and then there's lawsuits for doing something that you didn't do, but maybe you should. So, I just, without doing a little bit more research, without thinking about it, I'm not saying don't, do a resolution, investigate, look at everything, cost, pro, con, but if you have something and you're paying for it now, and you're paying for it until it's in the village, not to pay for it, but we have it, even if we're planning on here, pay for the interruption dates. The question of do we not use it and just store it? That's a question that liability issue. So I don't know if that's a question purely research or you have to talk to the fire department, ISO rate, things like that, but that's just my concern from a liability issue. You have assets, something bad happens. What's and it's not an issue of should be. I mean, that's another issue for the board entirely to decide should we have. Maybe have it in the interim. Do with it.
Put a time limit on the exploration.
Well, I mean, I think it's up to the board to determine how you want to do this exploration, who's going to do it. That you could put, I guess, a time frame on it, but I don't know. I know the last thing about fire trucks. You use it without a fire, for $1,000 less or 10,000. I don't know, but I guess you can sell it if it's brand new, or you can sell it if it's 6 months old. My question is why don't you have an asset taxpayers really take it from paying? How does that affect our liability insurance? Negligence issue, not using, you should be doing that you have access to. Just lots of questions like that. So I guess I don't have the answer. Just have good questions like where you think so.
So back, several months ago, and this was brought up before, Scott, you have said to me, you need this truck. Mike, I believe you said this, that we need the truck. At least to include firefighters maybe, that the ladder is needed in this village. Am I wrong?
100-foot ladder. I don't see how that's gonna go down any of these streets. I think I made it very clear. We back up. People that were on the board before I got on there, and that ordered this truck, this should have been all over the place. Who orders something that has no idea how they're gonna pay for it, where they're gonna put it? This is a real strain on this board, from day one. We need it, we don't need it. I'm not a fireman. My job on this board is to try to figure out solutions for equipment that we need. And I have no answers for this fire truck. The only thing I can say is everybody I talk to, including myself, I don't know how we're going to pay for it. We cannot afford this truck.
So Jeff and I are working on a timeline.
Yeah, but,
exception.
but I mean, it's not gonna educate a board member who doesn't hear it. The reality is, we're not firefighters. We did trust the chief previously who brought us this information. We didn't just trust, but we verified. I was crawling underneath the fire truck with our previous mechanic. I was down in the office looking at these reports. So I just have to one more time hopefully reject the idea that as a previous board, we all just throw blindfolds on and pray for the This was a multi-year discussion that led to a purchase that we had plenty of time to build a building. I'm not saying that the cost is very high because it is. I'm not saying it's a strain on the taxpayers because it is. We don't get a single grant. We don't get a single dime of congressional funding. The taxes go up as a result of the purchase. I won't sugarcoat that. It's the ugliest of the options. Besides foregoing a piece of what was determined by previous board's necessary equipment, as indicated by the department tasked with making sure that when a fire does break out in any home or village, they can and do respond with the best tools available, regardless of who lives inside of it. And I resent any implication of what I came from the ground today. Now, if there is, from this point forward, some catharsis in saying, well, I'm stuck in this position, I'm not a firefighter, I don't want to be in this position to have to make decisions. I get it. I mean, Deb said it perfectly, this sucks. And Deb can have a different opinion than I do on how it gets resolved. But to act as if this was just a surprise to us that the truck pulled up 2 years after we ordered it and we didn't know what we were going to do when over a year ago we got a scaled down, that's still expensive, still over $1 million, but a scaled down shell building that we decided as village representatives was required. At this point, yes, there are options to explore other things. Like that's positive. That's a step in a positive direction. Making an exploration on what could happen with the truck if the village board decided not to keep it. Going to bond council, going and getting a refreshed schematic. These are all steps which is positive. And it's not going to be the solution everybody on this board wants because there are people on this board who want the opposite things from each other, but inaction is this. So at this point, I'm happy to listen to the thought of let's explore different options. Nothing has changed for me. I still am voting to retain the truck and to build the housing to put it in. And unfortunately, if we do get the grants, understanding that my taxes are going to go up as a result of that. And that we'll have to hold lines in other places to make sure that it is as small of a burden as possible to be. So while I personally haven't changed my mind on it, I'm not stonewalling, keeping other options on the table, looking into other things, because the more information we have, the better decision we can make.
Well said, Jack.
I believe we do need equipment, I mean, but do we need this? We need a truck, yeah. I don't know, or do we need that particular stuff? If I move next door, I'm not even in the village, so am I here not being safe because I don't live in the village? Are we the all be all? We spend $3,000 on a fire truck and $1 million on the station? I don't know, that just doesn't make sense to me. When I'm looking at it as a village board, I'm looking at our, seeing what we're up against right here, seeing what I'm up against, my projection, where we're gonna be in our fire department. This number isn't lying to me right here. I projected 300,000 over. And when I had that on top of a station and a truck, I didn't know that. I didn't know sitting here budgeting 7 months ago. You know, so as I'm gathering information and it's coming to me, and I'm looking at the overall. The bottom line is, do we need a fire truck? Do I personally think that we afford what we're buying? Absolutely not. I mean, at some point, the bottom is just gonna fall out. It's- We're not talking about fire protection, we're talking about one piece of equipment that is gonna cost us nearly $4 million. Over $4 million with interest for the tool. For one piece of equipment. That, and I understand that's thing too about the liability of it, and at the end of the day, it's, we do have equipment, it would be like saying that we have snowplow, and so an accident on our roads, and the roads weren't plowed because it was sitting at DPW, I mean, just because we have equipment, I mean, we're offering fire protection, just not with this particular piece of equipment at this time. I don't know what the legality of that is, but should we be exploring it? If there's a way that we could get around spending $4 million, cheaper solution that would help us, I'm into that, you know, looking at that. They're just, we knew that was coming. Yeah, we've known it for 2 years, but just because a decision was made doesn't mean I have to agree with it today. Like, oh, you made that decision. It's great. Do we need a truck? Yeah. We need firemen, we need policemen, yeah. We need DPW workers and everyone. Well, do we need $4 million? I'm not sure. We really haven't explored it. It's just like, look at this decision that's made, figure it out. I haven't had a way to figure it out because I'm looking at this now. I don't know how we're going to figure it out. And I'm just looking at the taxpayers. So, and not just over the truck, just because of everything's going up. So I would like to support still. And did I say that we need a fire truck? Absolutely. Do we need a fire truck? Absolutely. Do we need everything that we get? I'm not sure. So maybe we should. Maybe there's a solution there that we haven't seen.
Well said, Scott.
So moving from here, moving on, taking that into account, but also taking into account that we cannot just keep buying water. If we research the ISO ratings and, you know, the costs of things, we have to be able to move forward in all directions. This board has to come together and work together on it. Like just said, we're all at different ends here. We have to work together because we can't get work done if we're not working together. Just can't. We're all just spinning our wheels. So we can explore the truck once again, the need for it, if that's what the board is wishing. We can have a presentation from our fire chief, and he is preparing a presentation on the ISO rating, has been doing the research, and we can do that at the next business meeting and have him present to the board. I think that will help. As for accepting, I just cannot have a truck come into our village and not be able to train on it.
That's my motion.
So what is the exact motion again?
To hold off putting the truck into service until we've explored options to sell it, or I don't know. Period.
After taking into account our attorney's advice on this.
If we back up here, the last meeting that we had, we never got that. We did have a meeting, to discuss the fire truck. We never really had that meeting because we never got past the overtime. It took up all that time, and we never had a meeting. I've been on here I feel that everybody on here, every board meeting, every work session should have had on the agenda this fire truck. It hasn't been. But, I don't think there's that much more important than the money that we're gonna be dishing out for this fire truck, with no plan of where we're gonna put it, how we're gonna pay for it. And, I don't think Debbie's out of line for exploring other options. And, like Scott said, do we need a fireman, police? Yes, we do. But there is such a thing as, can we afford this stuff? We get this, what's gonna go? We can't lay out our taxpayers. Can't do it. And they already cannot afford it. We have people here that we've had that couldn't even pay their water bill. That, we have people here that can't pay their water bill. Fortunately, some of our generous taxpayers have stepped up and helped people, and we're a caring community. We need to consider of where we're going with this. This is one piece of equipment that we have a DPW. The last budget, we didn't hire. We took out one of our workers out of that budget. We did not hire them. And we have water lines, sewer lines, sidewalks in this village, infrastructure that is always going to be here. Our DPW guys are already strained with, we're putting patches on top of patches. Where are we going with this? This board, since I've been on here for 2 years, all we've argued about is this truck. We have got it nowhere with this truck. We've got nowhere with water lines, sewer lines, sidewalks that are unsafe. We passed these agreements that, oh yeah, we'll give you an incentive to replace your sidewalks. It didn't work. They knew it wasn't going to work. That it's our responsibility. When are we going to start digging into that? We can't get past because of this fire truck. I think we should be looking into alternatives. That if this is where we're going with this fire truck, then we need to go to the next step. What are we going to go without? Because that's where we're at. What's next? What are you willing to do without?
I withdraw my motion and ask that, that the mayor maybe have a discussion with the chief of, informally not putting the truck into service until board members who are in favor of researching other options for the sale of it are able to. So, informally and not a resolution to solve the language issue. It's a matter of urgency at this point. I mean, it's not even here yet, so I think we have time, but I just want to make sure that that's the board's decision to put it up for sale. It's not going to put it in service. You won't get them up, you won't get the top dollar. So that was my main point. Right now at the head.
So you've withdrawn, are you thinking the thing?
Kind of. You would want to go along with that, yeah. What I just said.
And I was writing down and processing for withdrawal motion. So I was about to speak.
Yes. I'm right, and I'm asking you to.
Yes, and I'm talking about, I have just said, working with each other, we need to work together. That we have to do
Was that I started,
I'm not going to let myself. So, the motion is on.
I'm just saying you could just not. I mean, if you would agree with that. That's not a dig. It's not a dig.
A white nod with you.
That's fine.
So, just so that I have this straight. Deb, if the board agrees, would like an informal discussion with the fire chief. As to what would happen if we did not put this truck into service. Taking into account what our attorney has advised us. So that other options can be looked into. Am I getting this right? Just speak with the fire chief to get reasons, what would happen if this truck were not put into service?
I'm politely asking that you not put the truck into service right now until we research action of the sale. Not formal, informal.
Informal. But even though our village attorney has said if you have a truck that you're not put into service,
Because the
there
village
could be
is not in spite of it, but because he's saying that. I'm saying I don't want a resolution out there right now. I'm saying informally, we could be having this discussion, we're in a workshop. I'm saying politely, could you please not put it into service until we research the options?
So
So I'm kind of off the record, what I'm saying. The board's not, formal resolution, that's what I'm saying.
except it is, the discussion has been on the record now, since it's discussed in a public meeting.
I guess, just for clarification, how long were you thinking? Because I don't know how long it takes to research something like that.
I
Like,
don't know either, but the reason why I asked permission is because this is happening. Oh my God, I'm so sick of this. I'm sure you all are as well. This is bad. Are you asking me for the time?
well, I guess what I'm thinking is like, we might be quibbling over whether or not the truck is service, the whole research. You know,
I just said.
yeah, so I don't know how long, like, are we talking 30 days in which the truck might not even be here yet, or are we talking?
What happens?
And I do know there is a time frame for the outfitting and also a time for training for our employees to hold on the truck. So it's not just for this right away, because there has to be a certain amount of training really on the truck. Before it can be run. So I don't know exactly what Chief's time frame is on this, and I to have an informal discussion with him. And if anyone would like to join me? Does anyone have anything else for this, this discussion? Jada and I are ready to go to, we will be going to Batavia to sign the US to accept the trailer truck on the 26th. And Jada and I have been having a discussion as far as if Jada could also sign the USDA closing documents. And initially, we thought you had chimed in and said that we should have a resolution allowing you to sign those documents. But since then, today, I don't know, checked your email that Leslie has chimed in on this. So I guess the two of you, I guess we need to know whether we need a resolution or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jada approached me and, being the chief financial officer, she only the person to sign, but then she indicated that, I don't know if it was the USDA or whoever wanted to see the authorization of it. And John Leslie said, well, you know, what, obviously it's her. My thought was, there could be a resolution authorizing her, on behalf of the village, and USDA says, I want to see a copy of something, we have it. If it's not needed, then it's not needed, and we never need to present them with a certified resolution. I just didn't see the, any reason why not to, it doesn't cost us anything, to pass a resolution and have a certified copy. If we need it, we need it. If we don't, that's the way I look at it. I mean, sometimes you get with federal government, whatever, niche with the way local or New York State governments work. The difference between chief executive officer versus chief financial and the instructor. So a resolution is just cost up to them. Needed, and we sign it, so never mind. I thought there was no harm in doing it.
So what would, how would that resolution read?
I think I had sent something. Did I send some data or just something that the board authorizes, village clerk treasurer as the chief financial officer to sign, you know, own documents on behalf of the village of Medina in place as the chief financial officer. Just something very vague, and we're not reinventing the wheel. Just any clear we have.
So moved.
Motion by Marciano,
Second.
second by Padelewski. Is there any discussion about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm gonna give Jada a minute to catch up. You're good? And you got the motion and second? Good. With that being said, I forwarded information to the board on a potential unilateral transfer. It was interviewed for the fire department. Does the board have any questions about this new hire? He has 19 years of experience in a village as a paramedic, and he built the gaps overtime that is costing the village money. Does anyone have any questions about the potential new hire?
I do. Was looking it over in the step that he started. How did they determine the step that he would be starting at? I didn't get that.
It's for this board to determine. It was based on his experience in the union contract. We can start a lateral transfer on a different step, especially since they have experience and they won't have to go, we will not have to pay for training for this person. The last hire we didn't have as much experience, and we started her on, and this is what I had come up with, that I thought it was fair. He wanted a higher step if he's hired, but I think this is fair. This is what, more affordable for our village to get this type of experience and a lateral transfer to years.
Just to clarify one point, the statement contract says new firefighters will be hired at step 1. Lateral transfers may be brought in at step commensurate with their time in service at the discretion of the chief.
Correct.
So was this his recommendation for step 5,
Yes, it was.
based on, other employees that are already here?
And commensurate with his experience as a paramedic. This person has a lot of experience, and once he is trained on our equipment, he will be an asset to our department. He also does training, mentoring of our newer paramedics. So I'm just, looking for a motion, to hire Thomas Brewer, step 5, with a start date of February 2nd, and a 51-week probationary period.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Scott. Second. Jess, are you abstaining from this?
Yeah, out of an abundance of caution, I guess, just because I grew up with him, like, I don't now. I don't have any, like, I just think the residents might appreciate out of an abundance of caution, but, it's certainly not a negative inference from.
Okay, so so Scott's made a motion. Deb or Mark, do you want to make a second to hire him?
I would have liked to have been part of that interview. It was kind of last minute, and then the interview process it happened. I I did talk to the chief about it. Basically, we made time so it was convenient for him. And obviously our board members have jobs, and so they have it at night. I have a hard time voting for somebody that I wasn't part of the interview. Basically, it's not that, somebody that I'm against them, but I have a hard time seconding a motion for somebody that I don't, if he walked in here, I wouldn't even know who he was.
So Mark, when this was put out, any board member contacted me to say, I really want to be a part of this interview, and this time isn't going to work for me. They could have contacted me. I would have worked with the chief to set something else up. We have not always had all board members get interviews, and so therefore, throughout the last interviews, I heard from board members that 2 people were there, you would accept the chief and the recommendations of the people who were involved in the interviews. You always have that option. If something isn't working, contact.
No, I contacted the chief, and he said that he set it up. And I think we come to an agreement that, okay, what would work for you? And I want to be flexible for everybody. During the week and the breaks, for the most part, it's not work for me. Like you've known that because the last discussion that they had, emails that I appreciate that, but you scheduled stuff on Friday that I would be able to be. Obviously, you don't have to be there for somebody who are hiring part-time, runs a weed whacker in the summertime. And somebody who's actually, we had someone's life. I would like to have been part of that. So I'm not going to second that motion. I'm sustaining.
Well, I wish you would have told me, because every board member has a right to be in on an interview. If they choose to do so, we've had liaisons in the past who've been on interviews, and the rest of the board has taken those recommendations. And that's the way it was done. It doesn't mean that that's the way it has to be done. So, Mark, what I'm hearing you say is that you will not vote to hire this person unless you interview this person. Do you want to set up another interview with this person? Okay. Does anyone else want to be on an interview with this hire?
No, I declined to be in the interview. I would have preferred that somebody was on the interview, make the second motion with Jess's.
I did not.
She did not. No, there was no one there except for myself. So I was under the understanding that Scott was coming, and I didn't hear somebody else on this particular interview.
Are you going to vote? You're not going to vote at
She's
all?
not.
No, I looked it up a couple weeks ago or the weekend before his interview, because I was gonna do it, and I just think it's enough of a gray area that I don't want a resident to use it later if I wait on something that, having not grown up here, it's never come up for me before.
I mean, I'll second the motion if there's gonna be vote, but
Okay.
if Mark and Jess want to abstain from it.
Well,
then
You
I'll
can,
do a second.
you can second it, she can abstain, he can say no, and both go through.
Okay, well, a second.
Thank you, Deb. So we have a motion by Scott, a second by Deb. Is there any more discussion? Okay. So, all in favor, we have Scott and Deb. Mark is abstaining, Justin is abstaining. And the motion is passed. Thank you, everyone. I think it's very important as we are concerned about the overtime and we're monitoring the budget. And I think that we on until the end of the overtime, that will help immensely. Yes. So it's 8:00. Jada has discussed, has forwarded us some updated information on our budget. I planned the meeting didn't take too long. We could have a discussion on this, or we could schedule another meeting for the budget. We do need to go into executive sessions. It's some advice from our council regarding annual run charges. So how does the board want to proceed? We want to have a Jada update us on the budget, answer any questions that we have on the papers that she sent, or we want to do that another time.
I'm fine with whatever everyone else like. I've gone through it. Where we're at. Discuss it or do it at a
We can pick a later date if that's better.
Mark?
I'm opening either way.
Jess?
I'm happy to discuss this at a later date.
Okay, so does the board want to do this during the January 26th meeting? Or do you want to schedule a different date? A special meeting to go over the budget. We do have on the 23rd, we're trying to swear in our new police hire and our sergeant, but it just didn't work out for tonight due to scheduling and we have someone ill. And so I spoke with Chief Navis today. We're thinking that maybe that we can have a special meeting on the 23rd to Friday the 23rd to swear these two people in council chambers, like at 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock, Mark, if you needed 5 on a Friday, or 4 o'clock. Okay. So we could go over the budget figures then, if you want, after the swearing in, or we can pick a different date.
Would love to spend my I'm in.
Okay. So we're going to have a special meeting on January 23rd at 4 o'clock to swear in our sergeant and our new police officer. And then after the meeting, we will discuss the mid-year budget, where we are mid-year budget as we're moving forward to finish out our meeting so that we know. Friday, January 23rd, 4 o'clock. So I kind of like doing the swearing in council chambers, but it needs to be accessible to the public if someone wants to come. So I was thinking we would wait and see who showed up for that. And, we could probably help Phil here.
Somebody swearing in, Alice doesn't?
Yeah, that's true too. Okay, so I will check with Shelby to see if it's available on Friday afternoon at 4:00 to have this meeting. So we will post it on the website. We will tentatively say it's at the Shelby Village Hall. We will change it on the website and on our all call if it changes. It will be here. It will be here unless Shelby is available. Friday night. Linda, do you have parties on Friday night in here? And do you spend your Friday nights here in meeting? Okay, so with that being said, I would like, does anyone else have anything else? Right there? Okay. Would like to, a motion to go into executive session for a discussion with attorney-client privilege regarding a contractual item.
Is it okay if we adjourn the meeting and then see the vice council?
Yeah, we do not even have to do executive session.
Yeah, I think it's better to adjourn the meeting and
I like that, yeah, and I had told Matt that earlier, I said, we do not have to, we're getting a turkey class, we can just all do the rule, and we don't have to have executive session. Okay, so a motion to adjourn the meeting. Okay, like this. Second by Mark, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, students. They're all smiling.
And then.
How are you?
Good.
Good. You?